Hello and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial we're gonna do this stitch. Well, it's a combination of other stitch that I did. This is the back of the work. Even the back looks nice. And this is the front. I am not familiar with this stitch. I never saw this stitch anywhere, so if some of you saw this stitch and this stitch has a name, please do tell me, and we're gonna roll with the name, because it's best to have one name for one stitch instead of me coming up with some names. I just don't know how to call this this stitch. So if this stitch doesn't exist anywhere, at least this combination, well, I will be more than grateful if you ladies and gentlemen, you can come up with a name. That would be great. Yeah, this stitch has only 2 rows repeat. I think it's nice to make a, I don't know, you can make even a vest, a cardigan, even a scarf, even though the back of the work is this, or infinity scarf, a blanket. Yeah? It's really nice, this this stitch. Well, this one is gonna eat some yarn because we're gonna work with a puff. So for those of you that you love puffs and you want to see a puff in your work, I think this one is gonna be nice. Okay, let's put this closer. All right. Okay, this stitch works with multiples of 3 plus 1 more. I have here 15 chains, and I'm working now with a 4.0 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, so I have the multiples of 3, and I'm gonna chain 1 more. Okay, now we're gonna skip the first chain, and into the second chain from the hook we're gonna go in there and do a single crochet. This row is gonna be single crochet in each chain. You can start with double crochet in each chain. If you don't want to do this, the first row of single crochet, you can just do double crochet in each chain, if you like that. But I think if you want to make a scarf, I think it's nice to have this first row of single crochets, in case you, well, not necessarily, in case you want to attach tassels or fringes or whatever those are called. It will be nice. And the same way you're gonna finish with a single crochet in each stitch, the last row of your work, especially if you do, I would say, a scarf. So the last chain, we're gonna do a single crochet also. We're gonna chain 2, turn your work, yarn over the hook. The first stitch here we're gonna do a double crochet, and this row is gonna be double crochet in each stitch. So we're gonna move to the next stitch, a double crochet, next stitch, double crochet, and so on. In each stitch, a double crochet. And I should have chained less chains, and this will be done faster. But you know, you can, if you're an advanced crocheter, you can speed up the speed of the video, and it's gonna go faster. Or if I move too fast for you guys, the beginners, you can slow down the speed of the video, and you will see what I'm doing. But this stitch, it's nice to do a baby blanket, or like I said, even a scarf, even though it's not reversible. And I like to hear some of you, I put a stitch and you say, well, I modified this and I did this to the stitch and it looks reversible or whatever. That's just great, because all of us, we modify the way we like some stitches. So the last stitches there, we're gonna do a double crochet also. Okay, so now we're gonna chain 2. You can chain 3 if you want. but I'm just gonna chain 2 with a little bit loose the chain. Okay, now yarn over the hook, we're gonna go to the second double crochet here, this one, and we're gonna do a front post double crochet, and in this space between the next double crochet and the one that we just worked, that space here, we're gonna start with doing a puff. So once, twice, and the third time. Depends on your yarn size, you might go only twice if the yarn is way too thick. Yeah. We're gonna pull the yarn through all these loops, not this one. Yeah. Yarn over and pull the yarn to the last 2 loops, and in the same space where we did this puff, we're gonna do a double crochet. Okay, now we're gonna skip the next 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and into the third we're gonna do the same. We're gonna start with the front post double crochet, then in this space here, right there, we're gonna do a puff. So once, twice, and the third time pull the yarn through all those loops, not the last one, and then pull the yarn to the last 2, and we're gonna do one more. We're gonna do one double crochet into the same space. Okay, so skip the next 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and into the third we're gonna repeat front post first, and in this space here we're gonna do a puff first, pull the yarn through all those loops, the last 2, and then a double crochet into the same space. And now skip the next 2, and into the third I'm gonna repeat. So we're gonna go into this space, and we're gonna do a double crochet into that same space, and again we're gonna skip the next 2, and into the third we're gonna repeat front post, then we're gonna do in that space there a puff, okay, and a double crochet there in the same space, and we're gonna skip the next double crochet because we have the double crochet and the chain at the end, so we're gonna go directly into the top chain right here. Like I said, if you want to chain and we're gonna do a double crochet, you're always gonna finish with a double crochet at the end. So here, if you want to chain 3, you can chain 3. I'm gonna chain just 2, but the chains, these 2 will be a little bit loose. Okay, it's gonna look like this. Okay, now, so now we have the double crochet from the previous row, the puff, and the front post. So in this space between the puff and the front post from the previous row is this space in there. We're gonna start with first double crochet, and then we're gonna do a puff, and then we have the front post from the previous row in which we're gonna do a back post double crochet. You're gonna pull up a loop and do a double crochet, and we're gonna repeat. We're gonna skip the double crochet and the puff and the space between the front post from the previous row and the puff. In that space we're gonna start with a double crochet and then a puff. If you want the puff bigger, you can go more than 3 times. So now we're gonna do a back post double crochet. Gonna pull up a loop and do a double crochet. Again, we're going to move to the space between the puff and the front post from the previous row, and we're going to do a double crochet. So one row you're going to have you're going to start with the puff and then double crochet, but one row you're going to have starting with a double crochet, puff, and so you're going to go in there and do a back post double crochet. So again, I'm going to skip the double crochet, the puff, and in that space here we're going to start with the double crochet, do a puff into the same space, and then a back post. So one row you're going to start with a front post double crochet, puff, and a double crochet, and one row you're going to start with a double crochet, puff, and a back post. Oh, look at this, it's weird. Okay, so now here at the end you have the double crochet, the puff, and there is the back post and the chain. Yeah? So in this space you're gonna repeat. You're gonna do the same. Double crochet first, then you're gonna do a puff, and then a back post, because you have the chain and the back post. So you go behind that, pull up a loop, and then do a double crochet, yarn over the hook, and we have the chain at the end, so we're gonna go on top of the second chain. If you put three chains, then you're gonna go on top of the third chain, and you're gonna do a double crochet at the end. Then you're gonna chain 2 or 3, depends on you, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So now this row you have the front post here, so you have the front post, the puff, and the double crochet. So this row you're gonna start with the front post, and in the space between the front post and the puff, in that space you're gonna start with the puff, and then a double crochet into the same space. So again, you have the front post first, then in this space you're gonna start with the puff, and then a double crochet, and keep doing the front post, and then the puff, and then a double crochet, and you move to the next, the front post. So like I said, if you I never saw this stitch anywhere, so if you saw this stitch somewhere and it has a name, it would be nice to put the same name instead of putting a different name. But if none of you saw this stitch, then it's nice to have a name. And like I said, I would love it if you guys come up with a name, because it's just my brain, it's in vacation. Okay, so now at the end here we have the same, so the front post, so we're gonna do the same front post, then the space in there, we're gonna start with a puff, and then a double crochet into that same space. And now at the end we have the chain 2 or 3, so you're gonna go on top of the chain 2 or the third chain, and you're gonna do a double crochet. You're gonna chain 2 or 3, and you're gonna turn your work. So this is the back. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna, now this is the row that you're gonna start with a double crochet. You're gonna skip the double crochet, the puff, and here is the front post from the previous row, and you have this space. You're gonna start with the double crochet first, a puff, and then a back post around this. Okay, you're gonna move to the next, skip this and double crochet, a puff, and then a back post. So again, you're gonna skip the double crochet, puff, and in that space you're gonna start with a double crochet, a puff, and then a back post. So again, skip all that, and the back post in there. So now at the end, again, you're gonna skip the double crochet, the puff, and the space between the front post and the puff. We're gonna do the same. Double crochet first, a puff, and then a back post around this. And then at the end here, on top of the first and second. So if you go on the top chain there, and you're gonna do a double crochet, chain 2 or 3, and the next. And with this, it looks a little bit kind of straight. Oh, I don't know. It's like this. It's beautiful. This one I did with this sample, this big one, I did with multiples of 3 plus 2 more, and I skipped the first chain, and in the second chain I started a single crochet that row. For this one I said multiples of 3 plus 1 more, and I don't know, maybe this one is going to be a little bit straighter, but if you like this this shape that goes like this, you know, kind of diagonally, well, you can do that. Look at this, this is quite nice, and the back is it's quite nice too. So this row, when you start, you're gonna have the front post here, front post, and in the space between the puff and the front post you're gonna do the puff and the double crochet, front post, puff, and double crochet, and at the end you're gonna do the same, and in the top chain you're gonna do a double crochet, and that's about it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this this tutorial and you like this this stitch. Maybe you give it a try. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.